Hey, welcome to today's episode, and I am once again joined by our producer, Bo Snyder, and we are doing something really cool this month. We're calling it Movie Month. So we're basically going to be breaking down different movies, sagas, franchises, and different areas of movies, categories from different studios, and we're going to be pulling out the truth that you can find in these stories. And so I'm really excited about it. Hope you are too. My name's Luke Clayton, and this is Connection Culture. All right, man, here we are, part 2 of Movie Month here on Connection Culture, and we just had a really fun time talking about Pixar.
We did.
So now...
I should probably just leave the room and let you talk about Marvel because you could just nerd out, which is awesome. Who can't nerd out on Marvel? It's awesome.
I am the bigger Marvel fan, but you have become more of a fan, especially as we've in more recent years as well. So, now to opening clarifications, there are a lot of Marvel movies. Interestingly enough, Marvel was actually, the comics, was actually struggling really bad back in like the early 2000s, or late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
There actually are some like 1990s, maybe even the 1980s, like properties that are their films or their little shows or whatever.
Sure.
They weren't doing well. Marvel was not doing well, and so it started to sell off its character and movie rights.
Yep.
So it sold Spider-Man to Sony. It sold the Incredible Hulk to Universal, and X-Men to X-Men Fantastic Four to Fox.
That's right. I forget about the X-Men
So
series.
all of its good characters, those are its best characters.
Oh, yeah.
Comics alone.
Yeah.
Sold them off.
Okay.
That left them with Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and the ones that we now know as the good ones.
Yes.
You know. So what we're going to be talking about is not we're not going to get into X-Men or Fantastic Four. And we are going to talk about. We're not going to talk about like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or the there's
90s one that we know.
Even though they're fun, you know, and we're going to talk about the ones that are strictly considered in the MCU, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Starting in like 2008, which is
these are the stories that they all do connect. You know, the others at this time they do not. And now though, interestingly enough, now Disney and Marvel owns all of them again, except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man's still owned by Sony, but they do have an agreement worked out where they're partnering together on this.
Little sidetrack here. Do you think, way back when the first Iron Man came out, which was the best of
the Iron Man movies, yeah.
Okay, in 2008, obviously the very last one is Avengers Endgame. Mm-hmm. When they started writing these, did they know exactly where they were going 15 years down the road? Well, not quite, I guess, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and now we're into phase 4. That's how they got. So apparently, that's how they have mapped it out. They had phase 1 figured out, which begins with Iron Man, ends with the first Avengers movie.
Yes.
And they had that mapped out, and then when they got to phase 2, they mapped that out, phase 3, so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
So I think that, from what I understand, that's how it went. So let's get started, man. Let's dive into them. So the first one, the original of the MCU, is Iron Man. Now, to be straight up, again, if you were a Marvel Comics fan, Iron Man was not that big of a deal.
No.
He was definitely just one of those like afterthought characters. You can tell that Stan Lee, who is the mind behind all of Marvel, that he was like, oh, you know, it would be really cool if I had like this kind of Batman Bruce Wayne type character, but for Marvel. Because, I mean, the eccentric billionaire who's wealthy, unlimited resources, creates all these cool things and gadgets.
Yep.
But nonetheless, Iron Man, it really got it all started right.
It did.
It's amazing.
And credit to Robert Downey Jr. He's still alive, but bless Iron Man is not with us anymore. But, I mean, I had never, ever heard of Robert Downey Jr. until Iron Man. I mean, I don't even know what he did.
Well, this brought him back.
Yeah, I don't know if he did anything. I mean, no, he kind of got in some trouble later or before and whatever. Yeah. But, I mean, this character, I mean, it's funny to look back how young he was. I mean, this was, quite a while ago. But it's like he nailed this. Just his personality. Yep. It's kind of like, take like Bruce Wayne. Even though like they're kind of similar as far as like, their money and their gadgets and everything, their personalities are 100% different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy's just straight up arrogant. You know what I mean? Which everybody loved him just because he was that humor also.
Yeah. Iron Man, the Iron Man movie comes onto the scene the same time we've got the Dark Knight trilogy. A little sneak peek. Talking about that more next week.
Okay.
But I do like that, how even though there was some similarities, that notification was me, by the way. For those of you out there who heard that notification, was like, was that my phone? No,
Dude,
it was not.
I hear that in random podcasts sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
I will.
Who was that?
I'll hear
That was them.
Anyways, what I was saying is they did a really good job of saying, you know what, let's be sure to differentiate that, because on the other side, we'll talk about more next week, but the Bruce Wayne that's being played by Christian Bale, completely different personality.
Different.
So Iron Man, I mean, basically, it's like they said, "Hey, Robert Downey Jr., you play you."
You see, that's just it, and I've heard this and read this several places. Is the character that he is? That's him in real life, which is totally cool. I mean, like, to me, it's funny. I actually get really disappointed when I find a character that I really like, but then in real life they're like a completely different person.
Yeah.
I've heard he's like that. Like on set, he is that quick, witty, funny, arrogant. I mean, but in a funny way.
Yeah. He's just sarcastic.
Yeah, he's sarcastic. I mean, I've heard how many times where like he'd be on the set and like a serious, and like he would like all of a sudden like hide something and he'd like pull chips out and start eating them. It's these really random things that like. That's just totally Tony. It's just kind of funny. But.
Yeah. So the casting, incredible.
Yes,
and I'm going to give a shout out to the director, Jon Favreau, who he actually plays his driver. That's the same guy. So the same guy.
Hold on.
So Happy.
He directed that?
He is the director of Iron Man 1 and 2.
Yeah. No way! Yeah. I did not know that.
So Jon Favreau is a really good storyteller, really good director. Total side note. And no, we are not getting to this movie month. We aren't going to be talking about Star Wars this movie month, even though I wanted to. But Jon Favreau does the Mandalorian series. He is a really good.
Okay, I did not know this.
He's a really good director and a good actor. He's very, very talented.
He is. He's very good. Yeah.
So he dual rolled there. He played Iron Man, Happy there, the driver, butler, whatever you want to call him. But he also directed the film. So really amazing, just a really good film. And a lot of good stuff there in terms of, I love, and I don't want to give it away right now because we'll get to it, but you really see this Tony Stark character come full circle throughout the entire series.
Dude, I was just going to say that. He starts out the beginning, he's obviously a weapons builder and like, hey, we're going to be in control. Then he kind of like has this little accident. No, we're going to shut this thing down. And then he goes back. No, he just continues to do that circle, which is just part of his character. But it's funny. I thought the exact same minute you said that.
Yeah, and really in his personality, starts out, like you said, super arrogant and self-centered. And by the end of his run, he obviously makes the ultimate sacrifice, and we'll get there as well. So Iron Man, just a great foundation. Now, next, the Incredible Hulk. I almost just want to skip it.
Let's just.
Well, first of all, this is played by what's his name? How am I forgetting?
Wow, I feel.
Norton. Edward Norton.
Yep.
Edward Norton, they say, is one of the biggest jerks in Hollywood.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is why he only played this character. Apparently, he's one of those guys who gets the script and says, "I don't like this. This is how I'm going to do it." And so
directors don't like that.
Oh yeah. Well, and you can't have a cinematic universe with people like that.
No, you can't.
So, but the movie in and of itself just isn't fantastic. But I did notice, and I didn't realize this till looking at it again now. Those movies, Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, they're only released a month apart.
I just saw they're both 2008. I did see that.
Iron Man came out in May of 2008. Incredible Hulk came out in June. So I think it was kind of like everybody was. It's really smart because they said, let's release both, see which one gets received better. Obviously, Iron Man was the one received better. That's the one they leaned into. Then Iron Man 2 comes out in 2010, which, in my opinion, there have been 3 standalone Iron Man movies, and Iron Man 1 is the only one that I think is great.
That is the only one that I would just if I was scrolling through them. Yep, I'll watch that one by itself. The second and third, I wouldn't even. Yeah,
now the Iron Man character is fantastic.
And
obviously he shows up in way more than just the Iron Man movie.
Of course.
So Iron Man 2, I do like the character played, Justin Hammer. He's played by, he showed up there and now he's gotten big again. I should know his name.
I know.
But you'll know. Anyways, he was very, I like his character, and I wish they would have done more with it. I hate that his beginning. He was kind of a villain, but one of those dorky villains. And I think that's fun. I thought that was really fun. Of course, then in Iron Man 2, we do get the intro of War Machine, and they did recast, so that now Don Cheadle is playing that character. Before it was what's his name, dude from Empire, the other guy.
I know his face.
Yeah, I know. Man, Terrence Howard. Yeah, Terrence Howard. So he got recasted to Don Cheadle, which I think has been the better fit in the long run. Which who would know? I mean, but Don Cheadle seems to have done a good job as War Machine. So that's Iron Man 2. Then Thor. Now the Thor movies, in my opinion, the Thor movies I see a lot different than the Iron Man movies. I'm not crazy about the first one. I'm not crazy about the second one, but I do like the third one. Thor Ragnarok. I really did like Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, I thought you were the one that hated Ragnarok.
No, I like Ragnarok.
Okay, you like Ragnarok.
I'm not crazy about Thor 1, and I'm not crazy about Thor: The Dark World.
It's funny how Thor and Iron Man have kind of the same premise as far as starting out arrogant. I'm the man. Do what I want. It's like, no, you got to learn a lesson here. Which, once again, going back to what we said in our Pixar episode, is there's always a theme. They're always going to learn a lesson. Somebody's going to learn a lesson. There's always going to be a guy. There's always going to be a turning point for the character, which no matter what story you're listening to or watching. So I do like that about it. We'll get to Ragnarok later, but I mean, Thor 1 is good. I mean, obviously sets up Loki. It brings everybody in, it introduces us to that world.
It does a great job of introducing that character.
What's their planet?
Asgard.
Asgard, yeah. I like Asgard.
Yeah, and of course they've got old, what's his name? Odin, who played by Hopkins. He does pretty good.
Yeah, he is. And I'm a big Hemsworth fan.
Hemsworth is great.
I like Hemsworth. I mean, he's. I mean, come on, the accent alone is like, he's awesome.
I know, right? Yeah, girls really dig him. So Thor, I don't hate it, but you had to. This was the first of the. This is the fourth one in the. This is the first time they said, okay, we're gonna go out of this world literally.
Yes.
And we're gonna go into, because for me, when I first saw Thor, I thought, Thor, he must be some superhero who just takes on the character traits of the mythic god Thor. No, he's literally the mythic god Thor.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
Yeah,
and obviously, again, from obviously your Christian worldview is going to counter with that, and we have to really suspend all reality for this.
Yes, of course.
So universe. It was cool. It was all right.
I just noticed that Thor and Captain America came out in both 11.
Yep.
Which is Captain America. I mean. Let's talk Captain America.
Let's go Captain America, and I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because I know this one's a little more special to you maybe than even it is to me.
It's special to me? Why is that?
I don't know. You just always talk about how you like Captain America.
Well, I mean,
First Avenger.
Captain America, he obviously, this is, even though this is number 5, this obviously goes back the most in time. This would be like the first.
He's the first Avenger.
They call him the first Avenger. Yeah, it's obviously the farthest back in time, 1943 or whatever it is. Well, 41, something like that.
Yeah.
But Captain America, and this is what he is meant to be. This is who Steve Rogers is meant to be. He's meant to be the wholesome, clean, I mean, just all around. This is your hero. This everyone rallies around this guy because he's. I mean, not to make him a god because he's not a god in any way. He's a normal guy. But it's like, okay, what does Steve think?
Yeah.
And that's why I love him. He's probably the only one really that is. He brings no ego to the table. This is not about his world or what he wants. It's what is the right thing to do. Yeah. And that's just kind of like why I love him so much. I think that's why everybody loves him so much because it's like he is the heart of the team.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Endgame later. But I was like, if they kill off Steve, I don't know what I'm. But anyway, we'll get to that later. But that's why he's just my favorite. And I think a lot of people share that opinion of him. But yeah.
So my thing with Captain America, I'm with you. And this is what I love about his character and his movies and his role throughout all of the Marvel movies is, again, whether they're realizing they're doing it or not, they are emphasizing the importance of just integrity.
Yeah.
And I mean, because Captain America is a character of integrity.
Sure.
And he always seems to do the right thing.
Yep.
And not in the form of like a god or anything mystic like that, but he just, to be quite literal, Thor is a god, if you will.
Right.
And Captain America even seems to make better choices than him. So,
right.
I do love that about it. And the first Avenger, I used to be a little harder on it than I am now. The biggest thing that gets at me, why is this British woman a high-ranking officer in the U.S. military? That always bothered me. It was just kind of
Peggy?
Yeah. Like, why are you? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't. But another reason why I mean, it's still my favorite because any movie that is centered around World War II at all, this is definitely the reason why I love Captain America so much, is the cinematography of it. I think is the best. All those World War II shots over there in Europe, a lot of their, the war camps, the underground planning that they do. It's kind of like there's so many of those classic cinematography, lighting.
It's a period piece.
Yeah, it's a period
so
piece.
So
it's very, very well done. And to put all that together, it's like, no question, Captain America is my favorite by far. Technical production thing for everyone is how they made the skinny guy, how they put his face on the that is one of the coolest feats I've seen in a long time. I mean the first 20 or 30 minutes of the movie when Steve's all skinny, like that's not Steve, that's not I'm sorry, what is his name? Chris Evans.
Chris Evans,
That's not Chris at all.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the body is not that guy, and to put his face, I've seen all the it's incredible. Yeah. I mean, then of course he opens up the machine. It's like, okay, that's him.
That's real Chris Evans.
That's real Chris Evans right there.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the production.
For that one. That was a pretty cool feat of like VFX there. So, yes. Now moving on to the first of the Avengers movies, which was released in 2012. I mean, I like it. I love all the Avengers movies. This was the original, the first one. Of course, in this one, at this point, here's what's crazy. I mean, the first one, we only have 5 Avengers. You have Iron Man, or is it 5? Yeah. You have Iron Man, you have Hulk, you have Thor, Captain America, you have 6, yeah. And then Black Widow and Hawkeye. Which those characters don't have their own movies. Well, actually, yes, Black Widow's got her own movie at this point.
She does now.
Which, again, time of recording this is not out. It was supposed to be out a year ago.
Yeah, it was.
But
tell me this little sidetrack. Who is your least favorite? Just for people listening out there, everyone's got a favorite. Everyone that's like, if they fell away, I don't really care.
Least favorite Avenger. Well, of these originals,
of the original Avengers, right?
I mean, it would have to be. It'd have to be Hawkeye or Black Widow, just because they that was kind of weird. Like they showed up. I think Black Widow gets introduced in Iron Man 2, and then Hawkeye gets introduced in Thor. Yeah. But they're very, very like Hawkeye especially. So I guess I'm going to go with Hawkeye because at this point they had not developed his character at all.
That's just. But he just shows up.
Yeah.
I mean.
I really grow to like Hawkeye because they do a good job of development. But at this point, it was like, wait,
who's this dude?
This is the random guy who like literally had one shot, like one little scene in Thor. I mean, that was it.
Right.
And so, that was it. So I do like the Avengers. I like the team coming together. Of course, you see a little bit of the battle of the egos there with, Tony Stark and Thor and, Captain America's kind of keeping the peace, I do love the introduction of Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. He obviously, and the Hulk, obviously, way better. And, they did a great job of kind of building up to when, because he's just Bruce Banner until the city starts literally getting attacked, and they said, what you're saying? I'm always angry, and and he turns into the Hulk. That was cool. So I do like the Avengers. It's a great. Really, what happens in the Avengers? It says, hey, look, man, we have done it. We have really made a cinematic universe, a franchise that's here to stay, and that's when everybody was like, yeah.
It was kind of that moment. It's like, okay, this isn't like the end. This is just bringing everybody together, and then it's like full steam ahead from there, which was really cool.
What they call the end of Phase 1, So moving into Phase 2, the first movie of Phase 2 is Iron Man 3, and once again, Iron Man 3, meh. Iron Man 3, the only thing I like about Iron Man 3 is it presents a really interesting ethical question. I don't know if it's ethical, what you would call it, but basically the question is what makes Iron Man great? Is it Iron Man, or is it the suit? Is it Tony Stark, or is it the
It's actually been a long time since I've watched this one. I'm trying to remember the plot there.
Yeah, so basically Iron Man, at this point, he's really developed his technology, but he's really kind of struggling with some stuff as far as if he wants to continue as Iron Man, or should he continue as Iron Man, and could anybody do his job? Can anybody put on this suit and be amazing?
Is this the one... Because at what point, not that it matters too much, but just kind of thinking of the storyline, at what point does he actually, give the company away, and like he just kind of steps away, and he's not really.
He kind of lets Pepper Potts run it.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering.
You know what,
I'm trying to remember what
is
part
that
of
Iron Man 3?
I don't.
It
That's what
might
I'm trying
be
to
Iron Man
remember
3.
is when he kind of like changes. Like I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, well, it's
not really relevant to the story too much.
It's kind of the way I see it. Is like, yeah, he becomes a philanthropist, more or less. Not a philanthropist, but he says, my focus is not going to be on building a company. It's going to be on bettering the world.
Yeah.
And I want to say that is Iron Man 3, actually.
I think it is too.
So, but I did think what everybody hates about Iron Man 3 is the anticlimactic letdown of the villain.
Yeah.
It's all about the Mandarin, right? The Mandarin. That's what he's called. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's it. He's played by Ben Kingsley. Yeah, he's the Mandarin. I'm pretty sure that's it. And people are like, you guys are fans? You don't know all this stuff? Sorry, it's a lot of movies to keep track of, y'all.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. There's probably people out there. Yo, can you not understand?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. But anyways, that was very anticlimactic because in the end, the Mandarin, he's just this puppet, and basically there's this other kind of like more suave businessman behind it all. It's kind of weird. So, anyways, Iron Man 3, and then moving on to Thor: The Dark World. Again, meh. Definitely,
not a fan.
Definitely my least favorite of the Thors.
I would say definitely least favorite of the
Thor
movies.
I cannot remember a lot about it, to be honest.
I really can't either.
So I'm not going to.
Let's just go on to Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, man. Okay, Winter Soldier. It is the introduction of the Russo brothers to the cinematic universe.
Yes.
And the Russo brothers.
I'd like to sit out with them guys.
They are good because what they go on to direct, they direct this Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity Game, and Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame.
These guys are good.
So
these guys are the best.
What they become is basically, they strategically position them as the directors of the core movies that were really like, hey, these are going to be. The Russo brother movies begin to really move the story of the universe as a whole along because, and Captain America and Iron Man are kind of at the center of that. So the Winter Soldier, really good. Bucky's back. Okay, Bucky wasn't dead. Okay, he's back and he's a super soldier. And I like Bucky's character. I like the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I do too.
I love how they have taken a villain and they have now, really given him redemption, and now he's a good guy. I think that's cool. I like seeing that from time to time. So yeah, Captain America: Winter Soldier, really good. Nick Fury has a pretty big role in that. We haven't talked about Nick Fury much yet.
No, he has a big role.
That's probably his biggest role. In terms of thus far in all the movies, he probably takes on the biggest role there.
Is there any particular scene you think of in The Winter Soldier that just sticks out to you?
The whole kind of end action sequence, when the helicarrier gets crashed and kind of destroys.
The scene that I think of the most is the first fight scenes when they. It's actually right when Bucky gets his mask ripped off. That really quick knife fight between him and Steve. It's like super. I don't know who introduced this, but they do a bunch of that flip and roll of the camera and all this. Once again, I'm nerding out on the technical aspects of it, but that scene is incredible. Trying to think of. There's a couple other ones, but all that's good. The whole carrier thing is fantastic.
I do love the Winter Soldier. I love the introduction of the Russo brothers, and they did a great job there. So, you got one more comment there?
Yeah, last thing. Is this the first time, because eventually, Captain he's still a guy of integrity, but he kind of starts to get away a little bit from kind of he starts to question things, we really doing the right thing. He steps away from the whole. Yeah. He realizes there's corruption going on.
This is the
one, right?
Yes. Yeah, because this is where they discover that Hydra is behind S.H.I.E.L.D., basically. They've infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. And so, this is where we start to see the seed, if you will, is planted of Captain America is going to go rogue. Because we see that happen here eventually. Because Captain America is so concerned about what is right.
Yes.
And he kind of becomes your typical, I hate to say the term, but kind of your justice warrior. Really, he's about really what's right. Okay. And so, that is, you're right. That's where that's introduced. That those seeds, if you will, are kind of planted there. So, all right, now moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy. Bo, I know you're not really a fan.
Never was.
I'm okay with it simply because I like sci-fi, and so it's kind of like bringing Marvel and crossing over sci-fi. But this is where we're introduced. What I do, it introduces us to another piece of the universe, literally. Here is this galaxy, and man, I do love Chris Pratt.
I know. Well, this is the reason why I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's the same. Don't reach across the table and slap me. It's one of the reasons why a lot of Nolan movies I don't get into is because, to me, in order for it to be a good movie, of course, I probably sound like an idiot saying this because we're talking about a Marvel universe, but there has to be real. It has to be real.
Yeah.
Like, raccoons that carry machine guns aren't real. A wooden tree that's not real to me. So it's like, to me, it's like, I remember the first time I saw a trailer for this, I was like, is this a joke? Like, I thought, was this some kind of like rip-off? Like, is this actually a real thing? And to me, it's like, this just doesn't fit the universe. I know it's a different universe. I get that. But to me, it's like, this just doesn't go at all.
Yeah, well, and so here's the thing with Phase 2. Phase 2 of Marvel is a really interesting phase because what's happened is Marvel has taken the best of their what is their, it's kind of like they're in the world of the comics, they're B-level characters, and they've made, like, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and they've made them into, hey, now people love them.
Yeah.
Now they've got to dig even deeper because they still don't have Spider-Man. They still don't have the X-Men. They don't have, so now they're, because when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy at first, I was like, it didn't even click with me that it was a Marvel movie. So now they're digging even deeper. So so they bring the Guardians of the Galaxy in, which, again, it's definitely not my favorite. I do like, I love Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt's just a solid dude. The dude's a good dude. He's a more kind of a little bit more of a, he's a Christian, openly Christian, so I just like that about Chris Pratt in general. But yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy, it's interesting, whatever. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite aspect of the MCU.
Sure, I get it.
All right, so now moving on to Avengers Age of Ultron. All right, man, I'm going to say it. It is the worst of the Avengers movies.
It is definitely the worst.
And Josh Whedon, however you want to say his name. What? He definitely lost his job after this. It introduces Vision. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like Vision.
I've actually become a huge fan of Vision maybe since the whole WandaVision thing came out. I actually had forgotten where Vision came from, and I was like, oh, that's where he came from.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I like Ultron. I do like Ultron, the villain Ultron.
Okay.
I like it. Played by, voiced by James Spader. Did a really good job. I think it was a squandered opportunity. I think there was a lot more there. And Joss Whedon is, and this is what he's been accused of. Well, he's been accused of a lot of things, actually. In his personal life.
Moving on.
But in terms of this is the biggest thing he gets flack for in terms of his directing. This is the same guy who he has connections with Toy Story, with Pixar. So basically, he gets accused of trying to just make things too light and too funny. And Marvel has a lot of humor.
Well, sure it does.
But, and I think that's kind of where we got with Age of Ultron. There were some things where it was like, okay, bro, like, I mean, I'm not going to go through specific things, but, it was okay. I saw it. I remember seeing it in the theater when it came out in IMAX. It was, cool action, cool experience.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Vision was cool.
I was going to say, I think the best thing that came out of that was Vision. And just the introductory to him is, kind of like when he first comes to life, they're kind of like, okay, like, who is this guy? How does he think? And then, like, there's always those few lines where it's like, I think he says, like, I actually am Ultron, but I'm not him at the same time. It's kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I will say a little bit there, though. I'll talk about the character Vision and what you got to watch out for. A little bit of humanism there in that, okay, now we can play God, and we can create people, and we can create this artificial intelligence that's pretty much not equivalent, better than human.
Right.
And so, I can definitely see how that subtle message is there. I mean, I don't know if you remember the part where he picks up Thor's hammer. Because you have to be worthy.
Sure.
And apparently he is worthy.
Right.
So, we're dabbling into playing God a little bit there. So, I can definitely see the again, something to watch out for.
Sure.
So, moving on to Ant-Man. Have you seen Ant-Man? Any of the Ant-Man movies?
I have seen the first one.
Okay. Ant-Man is just fun, man. It's just a fun movie.
It is kind of a break from the very serious, and what's Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Love Paul Rudd.
He's a good character.
Funny dude.
It was a good break at the time, I think.
Yeah, and the thing is this, again, Marvel is obviously having to dig deep into their roster.
Very much
So
so.
here now we're pulling in Ant-Man, which I'm not gonna lie, man. When I saw that they were doing an Ant-Man movie, I was like, oh wow.
Well, because I think I know what you mean, because I thought the exact same thing. I said, how are they going to make an Ant-Man cool? Like, how in the world? But they did it. I mean, it's cool.
They did. I really like what they did. Like, there's actually a line in the trailer. I don't know if it made the cut into the movie, but there's a line in the trailer where Paul Rudd straight up goes, he's like, Ant-Man, is that the best we could come up with? So they make fun of it. And I have learned in storytelling, if you ever feel like you've got something that's weak or something that's potential, just you be the one to call it out first.
Yep.
So they acknowledge that it's stupid.
Yep.
And then they do it. It's funny. It's definitely, the Ant-Man movies are by far the funniest.
Yes.
It's more, I mean, it could be classified as an action comedy.
Yeah.
You know, it's got not just Paul Rudd, but there's other supporting actors. They're funny. And so, you know, and then in the end, you're like, oh, it's pretty cool. I wind up liking Ant-Man. So that ends phase 2. Now, to launch phase 3, now we're at Captain America Civil War. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Connection Culture. If you haven't yet, please take a moment to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to podcasts, or even on YouTube. Connection Culture is a production of the Must Increase Network. The show is edited and produced by Bo Snyder. Executive producer and host is myself, Luke Clayton. And if you want to help this content get seen by others, then the biggest thing you can do is to simply like it on Facebook or YouTube and share it with your friends to help it get seen by others like you. After all, it's going to be so much more fulfilling when you get behind the content you believe in, when you share, when you let others know, when you contribute in that way, because it is so much more fulfilling to be a creative contributor than to simply be a mindless, constant consumer. I'll see you next time right here on Connection Culture.